Well, speaking of AI, Ticker Take is looking to deliver news and insights, such as the latest innovations in the AI space. Now, Ashley Mastronardi, our content creator, sat down with the co-founders, John Ehrlichman and Caroline Leslie, to talk more about the future of this technology. Let's take a look.
We ask a lot of our guests about the AI story, and I would say that it does feel like we are in a bubble, but the question is, what kind of bubble are we in? Are we in a bubble that is going to pop, or is it like when you're blowing a bubble with your gum and it might deflate a little bit after, a big, round, juicy moment? I think everybody's asking that question right now. The challenge is that what makes this different, in my opinion, from, let's say, the most comparable bubble that we hear people talk about, which is the internet boom. At that time, there were all these bricks being laid for the foundation of things like e-commerce. So we had to sort of predict what that internet footprint was going to look like. And then in a lot of ways, they overbuilt. Whereas today, you have most of the money coming from these big technology companies. They might scale back a little bit on that. But when they're able to invest and then roll out product right away and then generate returns on that investment and then tell their investors about it on conference calls, that's a different situation. And that's one of the things I think is exciting investors, is that not only is there this big new opportunity, but there is a way to tangibly see how money's being made so far. But obviously valuations are pretty big too, so that jury is out, I suppose.
And it seems like the funding is feeding into each other, such as NVIDIA's huge investment in OpenAI, and these companies are all like investing in each other. Do you have any take on what's going on there?
Totally see what you're talking about. The fact that there is a very familiar feel of where the money is going. At the same time, a lot of those companies are the ones that are required to do this build out. We did a video recently about the so-called hyperscalers, the Microsofts, the Alphabets, the Amazons of the world, who are oftentimes partnering with the NVIDIAs of the world to do this big build out. But I guess without their build out, would you be able to see all these AI tools that they're able to, put out into the world? What do you think, Caroline?
Yeah, like Nebius just did the deal with Microsoft. Yeah. But I like to look at it in buckets. So like how they all kind of feed into each other. So you have like the designers and the architects, the NVIDIA, AMD. Then you have the manufacturers, which, there's Samsung, but like I would argue that Taiwan Semi is really leading the charge with that one. And then you look at the memory, which the GPUs wouldn't operate without the memory. And I really love, we talked about this recently, the Korean company SK Hynix. And then you have like the GPUs that get so hot and the data centers get so hot, and you have the cooling systems and you have Vertiv Holdings. And so there's so many, I get really excited about the tech and the AI stuff because there's all these buckets and these avenues. And then we had Kevin O'Leary on our show last week, and he was talking about the whole the real estate and the land, because you're going to need the land for the data centers and the warehouses. And so, there's Brookfield infrastructure. And he was talking about buying land in Alberta because you're going to need this land for all these. So there's just so many different avenues that feed into each other within the AI space that I think the bubble is not bursting anytime soon.
It's an ecosystem. Yeah. It's definitely an ecosystem. And Caroline, are there any AI stocks that you are keeping an eye on?
One that I didn't mention is a Canadian stock out of Saskatchewan, Cameco, and it's the uranium play. Because of the electricity, we're going to need the uranium to power all of this. So that's one that comes to mind that is a favorite.
We did another video recently where we didn't just talk about those hyperscalers, which we referenced, or the chip companies, but what would be that next building block through AI? Here at the New York Stock Exchange, you have all of this data, which is so valuable to any of these AI tools that are out there. And so a lot of data companies are going to be worth watching in the next few years, because, the one thing that people often find fault with is, can I trust in this information that I'm getting back from the AI? So if you're already a reliable data provider, your service is probably going to be in high demand over the next few years.
All right, thanks there again to the Ticker Take AI experts joining us to talk all things about this massive technology.